Hello everyone, my name is Travis Rail. I am the Chief Information Officer with the Kansas Department of Agriculture. Today we will be reviewing a brief presentation on Office 365 end-user rollout for KDA. Before we get started, let me give a brief introduction. As I mentioned, my name is Travis Rail. I'm the Chief Information Officer here at the Department of Agriculture. I've served KDA since July of 2014 and I oversee the day-to-day operations in IT. My future email address will be travis.rail@ks.gov. What is this training about? Primarily, it's about KDA's migration into Microsoft Office 365 and helping train you in some of the steps that you can take to successfully migrate your mailbox into your cloud account. We're also going to look at some of the common issues that we've had during the Office 365 migration. Some of the issues that we've learned from our pilot group that's already moved into the cloud. This training is not intended to be training in other Microsoft Office products such as Word, PowerPoint, Excel, or Outlook. What is Microsoft Office 365 and what does it mean to KDA? Well, Office 365 refers to a subscription plan that includes access to Office applications plus other productivity services that are enabled over the internet or cloud services. The state of Kansas selected Office 365 as part of its initiative to move all executive branch cabinet level agency employees onto a single domain at ks.gov, a single email address domain for everyone. There are approximately 18,000 total employees in that space. Now, as you can imagine, that represents a number of challenges in how we coexist together, moving all of those people onto a single domain, but it also provides great opportunity for better collaboration both within agencies and outside of agencies, as well as a number of efficiencies. So let's look at some big takeaways from this presentation. First of all of your email is moving out of KDA into the cloud. It's moving into the Office 365 cloud environment. And for field staff, that's going to be a good thing. It means that you no longer have to VPN in or remote into KDA to use Outlook to check your email. The other and probably biggest thing is that your email address is changing. It's changing from your firstname.lastname@kda.ks.gov to firstname.lastname@ks.gov. Now, your old email address will forward and work for a period of time, and we'll address that later on. But for right now, it's important to understand that your email address is changing. Firstname.lastname@ks.gov. Now, we are migrating everyone in 3 separate groups. We'll look at that later too. And we're not going to switch everyone's email over until all 3 groups have migrated. So not until the end, not until around June 23rd or 24th will you actually see that change in email address. The last takeaway is that your network logon is changing. The way that you sign into your computer is changing. Before, you probably used something like first initial, last name. For me, it was T-Rail. Well, now it's changing to firstname.lastname@kda.ks.gov. And I understand this can be a little confusing because that new network logon is essentially your old email address. But that's probably maybe an easy way to remember it. Just understand that it's no longer your email address. When you sign into your computer in the morning, you will now use firstname.lastname@kda.ks.gov. Same password. Your password stays the same. We here in IT still help maintain and control that password, so no matter where you go, your password is the same, whether you're accessing it on your computer, through your email, or through the Office 365 portal. So how will you know when you're migrating, or when is this migration even taking place? Well, I hope by now most of you have heard that we're actually going to be doing this migration over the next several weeks and hope to have all of KDA migrated by June 23rd. So the migration is coming up relatively soon. And you're going to get some communications both from KDA IT and from Central IT, OITS, or Office of Information Technology Services. I want you to look for emails from J.R. Growney. He's going to send you 2 emails. One's going to come a couple days before your actual migration, and then one the day before your migration. You're also going to see some emails from us. Hopefully everyone got an email that outlined on what days what programs are moving. So you're going to see a post-migration guide from us, and if you're a mobile device user, you're also going to see a guide on how to set up your mobile device or your smartphone. Quickly, I want to discuss what we're not doing, what is not part of this migration. we are not upgrading Microsoft Office. If you have Microsoft Office 2013, Outlook 2013 today, that's what you're going to have tomorrow. Office 365 is not an upgrade to a version of Microsoft Office 365. As I mentioned, it's a subscription plan with email hosted in the cloud. So the same version of Office that you have the day before your migration will be the same version of Office that you have after your migration. One thing that people ask, we're also not moving any data located on the shared network drives or resources. So the S drive stays where the S drive is at, the P drive stays where the P drive is at, the H drive, any of the map drives that you use within your program are staying exactly where they're at. We are not moving that information. Before we get into what you need to do the day after migration, let's talk about what you can do to help prepare for the migration. What can you do a couple days, a day beforehand to help make the migration go as smoothly as possible? First and foremost, clean up any old data out of Outlook. Get rid of old email. Get rid of email that's in your deleted folder. Clean up your sent items. Just clean up anything you can get rid of. Make that mailbox smaller so that it's easier to migrate into the cloud. Also, take note of any special settings you have, right? Do you have any special shared calendars that are set up? Are you a delegate for someone else's mailbox or calendar? Any personal contact lists that you might have. And also, please log off or shut down your computer the night before. We're going to want you to log in with that new network login. So please at least log off, preferably shut down the night before. Your computer doesn't need to be on to make that migration happen. Alright, so you're sitting at your computer, it's the morning after you migrated. What do you need to do to get started in Microsoft Office 365? I want you to look at this slide right here, this graphic, maybe even print it off. It touches on a lot of important things that we've already discussed or are going to discuss. First of all, your password hasn't changed. It's the same password that you always use to sign in with. Your email address is going to change once everyone else has moved to that format we discussed, first name dot last name at ks.gov. Lastly, your network login has changed, and that's where you need to start at. You need to sign in with that new network logon, and that is that new format of first name dot last name at kda.ks.gov, but using your current password. So you're sitting at your computer, you've signed in with your new KDA network logon, and you're ready to get your email. How do we do that? Well, just like you did before, double click on Microsoft Outlook and launch it. You're going to get a prompt for your username and password. Now that's your network logon username with your current password, your first name dot last name at kda.ks.gov. So go ahead and enter that in. Check remember my credentials, that way you don't have to re-put in that username and password each time you launch Outlook. And Outlook's going to do a little bit of work, and then you're going to get a pop-up that says something in Outlook has changed and you need to restart it. Go ahead and press OK. Close Outlook, restart Outlook. And now what we're hoping to see is similar to that last graphic there on the bottom that says you are connected to Microsoft Exchange. If you've gotten that far, you're done. You've connected. You're in Office 365. Your email is now in the cloud and you're ready to go on using Outlook just like you used it before. Okay, so we've got Outlook set up, but you say, hey Travis, I've actually got a smartphone. How do I get email on my smartphone? How do I get it on my mobile device? Well, the day before your migration, we're going to send you a set of instructions on what you need to do to get email on your device. One of the things you're going to want to make sure you do is make sure that device is encrypted. You want to do that before the migration. That can be done before the migration. That's because on Android devices, that encryption process can take anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half, and you need to have your phone plugged in, and you need to have at least 80% battery life. So we recommend doing that the day before, the night before. Plug in your device, get it started, and within an hour and a half, it'll be encrypted. Once your device is encrypted and you've migrated, you're now going to need to install what the state has selected as its mobile device management software. This software allows the state to wipe the device, wipe the email if it becomes lost or stolen. It also enforces some of the state mobile device policies, such as your phone needs to be encrypted, as we discussed, make sure it's encrypted, and your phone needs to have a 6-digit PIN or a six character password if it's an Android device. The mobile device software does not keep track of where you're at. It does not allow us to look into your phone and see what you've been doing on your phone. It simply allows us to wipe the device if it's been lost or stolen. Now, I won't beat around the bush. Setting up the smartphones with the new MDM and email has been probably the most difficult part of this migration. It was the most difficult part for our pilot group. And so if you run into any issues the day of migration, I'm asking that you email service desk at kda.ks.gov. We've got extra staff for those migration days ready to call you back as we get those issues or emails in from you so that we can call you back and help you get it set up. So what are some of the common issues we've seen with migration? Well, there have been some issues with the autocomplete entries becoming corrupted. You know, when you type in someone's name and you expect it to fill it out for you, well, in some cases those auto completions have become corrupted. It really kind of depends on who's migrated and if that person's migrated. In the pilot group, we haven't noticed this a lot. It's been kind of rare, but if you run into issues with the corrupted auto entries in Outlook, call or email us and we'll open up a ticket and we'll get that fixed for you. We've also had some issues with global distribution lists such as the KDA all. Again, in the pilot group, we have not noticed any issues. In other agencies, they've had some issues with global distribution lists having problems. They might not fully work until everyone has been moved into Office 365. Lastly, non-migrated shared mailboxes. So if you have a mailbox that you have open in Outlook in addition to your personal email box, until that mailbox migrates, you might not be able to access it or send from it. What you'll probably get when you launch Outlook is a second pop-up asking you to log in again. In this case, the second time it pops up, that's actually the shared resource wanting your old KDA username and password. I should say your password has stayed the same, but your old KDA login. If you want to continue to access that resource, just go ahead and sign in with your old KDA login and your password when you're prompted the second or third time, depending on how many shared resources you have. But again, bear with us. Those issues should go away once everyone has been migrated by June 23rd or June 24th. So, you know, there's just these coexistence issues that happen while some of us are on Office 365 and some of us aren't. Alright, common questions that we've been getting from the Office 365 live events. 1. How long will my old email address work? It will work until approximately the end of calendar year 2016. So we're talking about 18 months until your old email address no longer works. Now there's a little bit of a caveat to that, in that if your old email address gets flagged as producing a lot of spam within the state of Kansas email domain, then the Kansas Information Security Office may turn off your old alias sooner than that. We're recommending that as soon as you know your email address has changed to the new @ks.gov, that you notify people immediately. You know, update your contacts saying, hey, look, my email has changed. Add it into your into the footer, into your signature line. Say, by the way, I have a new email address. It's so-and-so at ks.gov. The second question is, we talk a lot about email. Will my calendar and contacts migrate? And the answer to that is yes. Your mailbox in Exchange or in Outlook or in Office is all one big thing, one big account, and all of that moves up to Office 365. So your calendars, any additional calendars you've created, all the contacts that you've saved, they will all migrate up into Office 365 just with all your email. Also, your email folder structure will stay the same. You'll have the same inbox, you'll have the same subfolders you've created, you'll have all the same things you created. Really, from what we've seen from the pilot migration group, there's very little change in Outlook. There's very little change in the email experience, and that's a good thing. We want you to go through this migration process and say, hey, was that it? Was that all that happened? We went through all of this just for me to put my password in a new place and click OK and restart Outlook. We're hoping that's the only question that you ask. The other thing is, one of the other questions is, will I be able to share my calendar with other state agencies in Office 365? And the short answer is yes. That's part of the advantage to the single domain. that we'll be able to do a lot more interagency collaboration. You'll be able, if you have other people in other agencies that you work with a lot, you'll be able to see their calendar, you'll be able to share your calendar, you'll be able to share files more readily and easily. We're kind of hoping to break down some of those communications and IT barriers that exist between other state employees. So the fourth question on here, does my mailbox size have a limit? And the answer to that is yes. Mailboxes can be no bigger than 50 gigabytes. And that doesn't seem like a lot, but in email world, that's actually quite a bit. The average KDA user has a mailbox less than 1 gigabyte. How big of an email can I send to someone? 25 megabytes. That is the biggest email that you can send to someone. Now, I've got a little asterisk there because that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good idea to send 25 megabytes, because email isn't designed for large files. And for later on training, we'll talk about some of the file sharing collaboration tools, Microsoft OneDrive for Business, that come with this, that will help you, that could help your program share larger files. Another common question is, will I use my new network logon for VPN access? The answer to that is, currently you will use your old logon. You will not use your new one. We are working to change that, so at some point it will change to firstname.lastname@kda.ks.gov for your VPN username. But for right now, continue to use your old KDA network logon, your TRail, your first initial .last name. But we are working on changing that. The other question we had the other day is, will I use my new network logon for Rex or RIS or WSI if I use one of those applications? And the answer is no. These are all separate from the network logon system. In the past, we've tried to match the same username that you use for email or you use to sign into your computer with Rex and RIS and WSI. Now that we're going in this direction, Rex, RIS, and WSI essentially don't support that type of username, so you'll still use your old username and password for Rex, RIS, and WSI. Another good question was, will I use my new network logon for Footprints? And again, no, that still uses your old KDA login, first initial, last name. Now, VPN and Footprints are synced to the same password that you use to sign into your computer, so your password will be the same for both those. Rex, RIS, and WSI is actually a totally separate system that can have separate passwords. So the million-dollar question, when do I migrate? When does my mailbox move into Microsoft Office 365? When do I need to start logging in with my new KDA network logon? And when do I need to set up my phone for the new Office 365 email? Well, as I mentioned before, we're migrating in 3 different groups across 3 different days. Now, the dates you see here for each group are the days that you'll want to start using that new logon. That's the morning after migration. That's those dates. So, Group 1 is Thursday, June 16th, 2016, and it's mostly administrative services. It focuses on communications, fiscal, human resources, legal, marketing, and office of the secretary. Group 2 is Tuesday, June 21st, 2016, and that'll be animal health, dairy and feed safety, food safety and lodging, grain warehouse, and the laboratory. Group number 3 will be Thursday, June 23rd, 2016, and that'll be conservation, meat and poultry, pesticide and fertilizer, plant protection and weed control, statistics, water appropriations, water management, water structures, and weights and measures. So the last question that I have on here is, I am having an issue with the migration. Can I call IT? And the answer, as always, is of course you can call IT. It's what we're here for. We're here to serve our customers. You're our customers. We're here to make sure that technology works the way you expect it to work. If you don't already have our contact information, it's 785-564-6740, or if you can send us an email, servicedesk@kda.ks.gov. I know that during an email migration, sometimes sending an email isn't exactly the easiest task, but we are expecting a high call volume for those 10 business days or so that we're doing the migration, but we've got some extra staff in place, and we hope that we can serve you and meet your expectations. So that concludes the Office 365 end-user rollout training for KDA. I hope that I've helped answer any questions that you might have about the migration, and I also hope that you feel better prepared for the migration. If you do have any additional questions, feel free to email me at travis.rail@kda.ks.gov. And before I go, I wanted to leave you with just a couple quick websites, additional resources that Central IT or OITS has provided. The first one is their kind of main page for the email consolidation project, and the second one is their training page that gives you additional training resources for Microsoft Office 365. I want to encourage you to go to those, use those. I also want to encourage you that if you have any IT issues at all, feel free to call your IT service desk at 785-564-6740 or service desk at kda.ks.gov. Once again, my name is Travis Rail, and I want to thank you for viewing this presentation.